Good day, everyone. I know it's still a bit early for the actual webinar to start right now, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you. My name is Johannes Moorman. I am the SPOC for promoter-related issues. Chances are most of you have been in contact with me in the last few months. Today we'll be going through the PLIs for storage projects. Helping me will be Jean-Baptiste. He'll be joining us.
Yes.
I think we're just going to wait. Nice. I think we should just wait until, let's say, 5 past. Just give everyone enough time to connect, and then we can actually get going, right? Is that okay, Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah, that's right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so we'll just wait. I see we have 12 attendees already. I think that's close to the number we're going to get, but let's wait a few minutes. Thank you very much for being on time. In 3 minutes, we'll just say a short welcome, and then Johannes will take you along this webinar.
Yep.
Just while we wait, don't hesitate if you have any questions on that topic or on others. We are here for that, so don't hesitate to send any of your questions or remarks to Johannes at any point, of course.
Yeah, you can either raise your hand or alternatively post them in the actual question box. If it's an urgent question, I would recommend if it's an urgent question, raise your hand. And then we can get back to it as soon as possible. Otherwise, just in the question box, and we'll have like some dedicated time at the end of the session to go through them all one at a time. I'm not let's say the ultimate authority on the rules and guidelines, but
well,
I'll do my best.
That is relatively new to the team, but as ENTSO-E, of course, we have a legal department working with us, and any question on how the rules should be applied goes through them. We are conducting a regulated process, and we take that very importantly. So yeah, so we are going to answer to whatever we can, and if we can't, we are just going to get our backup.
Yeah. So if we can't answer your questions, please send them through to us via email, so we can get back to you in an actual. We'll take note of them, and we'll get back to you with a full answer.
And also, do not hesitate to send further questions that you would have after the call. We know that the topic is most complex, and you will have to implement it. Is going to create work for you, so do not hesitate to contact us with any question after this webinar, obviously. So let's just wait 1 more minute, and then we can start. Okay, it's 3 past. I see that we have 14 attendees already. So I think let's start. I just wanted to welcome you. I'm Jean-Baptiste. I'm the manager for the planning section at ENTSO-E. And I will leave you in the good hands of Johannes. We know that this year is a very complex year for everybody, so of course we hope that you are doing well and your families as well is the most important. We know that work is not easy for any of us, and we really do appreciate the commitment that all of our promoters have shown and the understanding as well. You have known that our process has been modified, that we are going to publish the TYNDP later than anticipated. Of course, we are in touch with the European Commission to see how that will impact the PCI process, and we will let you, the promoters, know when we have further information about that. We have confidence that, of course, it will not impact the the possibility for projects to apply to become PCIs. Now, the topic today is very important for those of you who have followed the TYNDP for several editions. You have already heard of that with different names. Up until 4 years ago, we did not have any of these indicators in the TYNDP, and they were calculated in a less structured way during the PCI process. In the last TYNDP cycle, essentially there was a realization that it's not because an indicator cannot be calculated at European level that it's not a benefit of European relevance. So we kind of in the past put the feasibility of the calculations ahead of the actual benefit for project, which obviously is wrong. And so there was this acknowledgement that there are a number of indicators that exist that we cannot work with from a centralized point of view or calculate at ENTSO-E. For some of them, maybe it will be the case in the future. For some of them, probably never. But they are benefit for the project, so they are now part of the new version of the cost-benefit analysis, which has been going under consultation and has been reviewed by ACR and the Commission. It's a very important process. It's very important to note that the Commission is absolutely adamant they will not accept any benefits that is not in the TYNDP. So if you intend to be candidates to the PCIs, pay attention to that, because you will not be able to claim later on benefits from these indicators if you don't do it through that process. Now we know that it's a process that is complex. It is for the promoters. It is for ENTSO-E as well. We prefer when we are able to calculate things, obviously, because we are doing studies, but this is a reality, and we know that this process can work. It requires a lot of work on all sides, and therefore that's why we are doing this webinar, to help you and to guide you and to help you understand what is expected, and also just to know that we are available to really, if you have any question on how this is implemented on the indicators themselves. There will be quite a big work to do later on for those of you who do declare indicators. They will be reviewed also with our regulators. So the more we clarify before, the more it will help the process later on. So really don't hesitate to clarify anything, and we are here for that. And good luck for this part of the exercise. It's an important one. I will leave Johannes to present the content of this webinar.
Thank you, Jean-Baptiste. Just see that we just have one question. If everyone doesn't mind, I'm just going to quickly just check what that actually what actually is, and then we can continue. If I can figure out how to open up the question window. There we go. So the question was: PCIs include storage for which the regulation does not require cross-border benefits. CEF is a funding scheme that supports PCIs, but CEF requires cross-border benefits for storage and is therefore in direct opposition to the PCI regulations. Why doesn't CEF stop requiring them? Jean-Baptiste, do you know anything about this? Because that's a bit beyond my knowledge.
Well, I understand that. I mean, this is a very valid question. It's a question that is not for us, however, because it's one on CEF. So we know that the storage promoters in the CEF process, like in others, have to juggle between having products that are not always perfectly tailored to the existing processes, and this seems to be the case, Mark. But this is a question for CEF, so actually I think it's an interesting one. I'd be happy to discuss them with our Commission's colleague, but this is not anything I can give you an answer to.
Okay. So if I'm hearing it correctly, then we can get back to you on that, or alternatively ask the European Commission, right? Okay. Moving on. So as Jean-Baptiste was saying, this is if at any time during the presentation you want to ask a question, please feel free to do so. If it's something urgent, then obviously we'll take the time to do it. Otherwise, at the end of the presentation as well, there will be some dedicated question time, and there will also be a brief demonstration on how to actually submit your project level benefits to the project platform, as well as what the updated project sheet template looks like now, where everything is presented. So if we move on to the table of contents, we'll be going through today the updated process development timeline. We'll be just briefly summarizing the resources that are available to you. These documents are nothing new. You should have received these, or you will have received these in my previous email to you when organizing the times for this webinar. But we'll just remind you of what those are. We're going to go for a timeline overview of the actual PLI submission process. We'll be looking at the general submission requirements for PLIs for storage projects, as well as then the specific PLI criteria for storage benefits. There's a slight difference there between transmission and storage for those of you who have got both type of projects running. And then one of the final things we'll be looking at is how to actually submit your project level benefits through the project platform. I will have to use a transmission. No, it's fine. We have a storage test. Sorry, I managed to find that before the webinar, so that should be okay. The Q&A is scheduled for the end, technically speaking, but like I said, if at any time during this presentation you have a question that needs answering right now, please don't hesitate to bring that to my attention. All right, so we're going to be running through the TYNDP development timeline. There's just an updated timeline for 2020. As you know, we're currently facing extreme delays. So looking right now at the PLI submission window that's open right now as we speak, that's planned to run until about August, so until the 31st of August. We'll be reviewing PLIs, your submitted PLIs, between the time that you start submitting them as well, and then the point where we submit the report for public consultation. So at the end of the TYNDP package, basically. You can see all the main key dates here, basically. I won't spend too much time on this because I'm not really sure. I think besides these two dates here, nothing is really that important to you. So all you need to know is that you have until the 31st of August to submit your project level benefits. So now, so you have 3 documents available to you to do right now besides the draft CBA. So the draft CBA is still like let's say the foundational work that lists all the methods and the processes required that you need to follow to actually calculate your project level benefits. That's been available since I believe last November or February on the website. I've also included a link in the presentation that you can then use to access the document as well if you need to. We have the implementation guideline on project level benefits based on promoters' input, which just runs through the project level benefits that we're presenting here. Most of the information I have is actually taken from this document that you can find in this presentation. It lists most of the submission requirements, the criteria required, as well as the administrative deadlines, this kind of thing. The practical guide and project sheets, that is a more in-depth look in how to actually complete your project sheet, how to upload additional information that might be missing. So that is worth taking a look at if the demonstration I'm going to give later on does not answer most of your questions. It's also important to know, actually, before we continue, that this entire webinar is recorded, obviously. So if at any time you miss something important and it's not answered by a question, it'll be available to you online after this whole thing finishes. So so this is the draft third CBA guideline of consultation. This I won't go through too much, simply because it's been available for a while. This was also included in the first webinar for promoters back in February. So you already have this information available to you. So it's not really the only thing worth noting here, obviously, is that this is still the be-all end-all. So if you have any second thoughts about how project level benefits need to be calculated, then please refer to this draft, the CBA guideline. That lists everything you need. all information that's included in these two documents, the implementation guideline and the practical guide and project sheets, specifically the calculation of project level benefits, is already included in the third CBA guideline. So if you have any doubts that I can't answer or that our team can answer, maybe refer to this document, and chances are you'll find what you need in there. So this is just a quick rundown of the project level benefits implementation guideline. This was available to you. I sent this through to each promoter when we were organizing this webinar. I've highlighted these sections which are of relevance to you as storage promoters. So we have, if you can see me zooming in, we have B7.1 and B10. These are project level benefits that are common to both transmission as well as storage. So B7.1, B9, and B10, sorry. The blue highlighted ones, B8 and B8.2, these are project level benefits specifically for storage. So Mark is asking, do we have to go through the entire calculation again if the benefits were calculated for the last TYNDP? I believe not. You are able to just reuse benefit calculations from last TYNDP as long as they still conform to the requirements of this TYNDP. Yeah, I mean, yes. Okay, moving on. So timeline overview. So this here was going to go through these are the key dates specifically for the PLI submission. So we have the guidance document. 1 second, let's move the, there we go. Okay, so we've already released the guidance document to you. That was the implementation guideline as well as the draft CBA guideline. If you don't have those available, I will attach it if you wish to a follow-up email after this webinar. And it's also available on the TYNDP website in the Promoters Corner. So feel free to rummage around there and see what you can find. We have, as I mentioned before, August 31st is when the PLI submission window closes. That is probably the most important date for you right now. Between then and October, we'll be reviewing your PLI submissions and completing your project sheets. The submitted PLIs will be published with the draft project sheets in October. Right now, that's scheduled to be about the 28th, I believe. But if you need confirmation on that, I'm happy to give it. Currently, the preliminary dates for publication of the TYNDP package is scheduled for Q1 2021. Unfortunately, due to COVID and the cybersecurity incident, we have had to push our publication deadlines back a bit, but we hope that this isn't too inconvenient for anyone. Regarding the release of projects of the CBA calculations and stuff, that is about 2 weeks before the TYNDP is submitted for consultation. So hopefully sometime in November, let's say. Let's hope. But I don't have that date is just off the top of my head. So excuse me, I just need to move the. Okay. So here it's going to go through the project level benefits for storage projects. This list contains all benefits that you are allowed to submit for storage projects. It's important to note that any project level benefit is entirely optional. This entire process can be ignored if you wish. However, like what JB was saying before, if you think that the CBA assessment doesn't reflect all the benefits that your project can specifically bring to the table that aren't pan-European benefits, then this process does allow you to highlight those aspects of your project that aren't reflected in a pan-European CBA. So obviously, if you wish just to ignore the process, you're completely entitled to do so. However, if you're applying for PCI or alternatively, let's say just want to boost your project's profile, submitting a project level benefit may be of benefit to you. So I'm not going to list all of these because we'll be going through these again later in more detail, but you can see the name, the number of the name, and the chapter referring to the third CBA guideline, in which you can find the method outlined for calculating each one of these benefits. So please, if you haven't had a serious look at the CBA guideline, please do so. As I mentioned before, and I will mention it again quite a few times possibly, is that the CBA guideline is the be-all end-all to the project level benefit and the TYNDP calculation process in general. So now I was going to go through the general submission guidelines. If it also please at any point, I am Australian, so please let me know if you need me to speak slower or more clearer. I'm happy to do so, but I need to know. Okay. So this year, these aren't all the general PLI submission guidelines. The complete list is listed in the implementation guideline on the pages you can see at the bottom of the slide. These are just, let's say, the more relevant ones to take note of. But please, if you haven't done so, please read the implementation guidelines. That will most likely answer any questions you have about what is required or expected from your side. So we have a submission of one or several project level benefits is optional. As mentioned before, you are free to submit any, but at the same time, you don't have to. Submitted benefits must be computed in line with the methodology described in the CBA Guideline 3.0. As mentioned, the CBA Guideline is effectively the ENTSO-E Bible when it comes to methodology and calculation. So please refer to that if you have any doubts. We're also happy to help if you still have questions after reading the relevant chapters. Submitted benefits should preferably be based on any of the ENTSO-E or ENTSO-TYNDP 2020 scenarios. NT 2025 and NT 2030 are recommended. Promoters are free to submit the chosen indicator based on all ENTSO-E and ENTSO-TYNDP 2020 scenarios, GA, DE, or NT. On this, I know we're going to get some questions on this, but if I may preempt that, is you're free to use any scenario you wish. NT is obviously preferred. It's the one which is most in line with ENTSO-E's let's say central message of the TYNDP. It reflects so it's basically the central scenario for ENTSO-E. So it's preferred. Of the two timelines, 2025 and 2030, you can choose either, but it must be mentioned that 2030, if you only have time to calculate one, and you wish to submit a project level benefit, calculate it for 2030. So 2030 is compulsory, 2025 is optional. So just take note of that. Yeah, so here we go. Scenarios other than ENTSO-E and ENTSO are allowed if the promoter submits the use scenario for review one only. That's one only per timeline, not per, yeah. Okay, so no qualitative assessment will be accepted. All submitted benefits must be backed by a study and must be quantified or monetized. You can refer to the implementation guideline as well as the CBA draft guideline to see exactly the submission units or the units that the submitted project level benefits must conform to. We'll cover that later as well. The study must be regarding the specific project at hand. Benefits based on generic studies, example assessing the technology, will not be accepted. In principle, the value of the benefit will be published in the project sheets. You may only submit benefits which ENTSO-E can publicly display. The study and data set on which the declared benefit is based will not be published, but may be shared with EC and ACE in the context of the PCI process. And lastly, the mere submission of the project level benefit does not guarantee that the indicator submitted is considered valid. The validity of the project level benefit will be verified by ENTSO-E during the public consultation period. Okay, moving on. Okay, what follows is basically a run through of what is published in the project sheet based on what you submit. It's important, like it's just to kind of reiterate ENTSO-E's dedication to keeping your data safe. So okay, so this is all taken straight from the implementation guidelines as well. So the statement by the promoter that the study performed complies with the draft CBA guideline 3.0, an explanation on how the compliance is respected. This will be published in the project sheet. A statement by the promoter that the indicator is submitted jointly and in agreement with all promoters on the project? No, it won't be. Promoter's statement that the study has specifically assessed the selected indicator for the project. That will also not be published. So just to check that the benefit is quantified to or specified unit or monetized in mega euro. So obviously this will be published because it's tied directly to the assessment of the indicator itself. Okay, so we have if the study is based on ENTSO-E scenarios, value of the benefit for 2030 compulsory horizon and NT 2025 optional and mega euro only unit selected. Yes, that will be published. So this goes back to what I was saying before, is that if you are to submit a scenario, any scenario of either ENTSO-E or alternatively, otherwise 2030 is a compulsory horizon for you, and 2025 is completely optional. Just keep that in mind. It might save you some time if you only have time to calculate one scenario, then that's fine, but then focus on the horizon for 2030. So if the study is based on another scenario, value of the benefit for each horizon, only one with 2030 and 2025, the optional time horizon. So name and description of the scenario, that will be only the value of the benefit is published. So name and description of the scenario, including data source, upload a scenario data set, justification for the use of another scenario. That is not published, but obviously you need to provide it. So basically all these fields I'm going through right now, this is what you need to submit in order to have the project level benefit adequately assessed by ENTSO-E. And if you're worried about what is and what is not published, please refer back to all of these tables and you'll have your, let's say, your concerns answered. Okay, so we have a description on the study's assumption and justification for the assumptions taken in data source. So this here is what you need to submit to support your study's validity. That will be published. Upload of the assumptions data set if extra assumptions beyond the scenario is needed to complete the specific indicator. So here ENTSO-E will require you to upload the assumptions that you base your study on, just so we can actually validate the study that you're uploading. However, the assumptions won't be uploaded. You need to upload the study, and it doesn't need to be in and it needs to be in English. No other language will be accepted. Sorry, but the study itself will not be published. So we'll keep that secret for you. The year of the study will be published. The entity who performed the study will also be published. And then you need to be able to indicate the page of the study where the assumptions are described. There's a field for that on the project sheet. That, however, will not be published because that's only for ENTSO-E to use as information. And you need to indicate the page of the study where the implemented methodology is described. But obviously that won't be published either. So, okay. So now this is the last submission requirement. So indicate page of the study where the results of the study declared above for your project are displayed. That will not be published. Clear statements and explanation on how the figures provided in the study relate to countries within the ENTSO-E perimeter only. That will be published. Obviously, TYNDP is a pan-European study and is focused on the ENTSO-E borders. So this here will be an important part to fill in. Optional is a short explanation on the methodology implemented. That will not be published, but it is there for you to fill in if you wish to clarify some things if the study that you upload doesn't clarify the methodology as precisely as it should. It might even be needed just to kind of provide that extra level of information to ENTSO-E so you can actually validate the study more efficiently or more effectively. Just make sure that the methodology that you outline is obviously in line with the CBA guidelines. Optional additional information, non-mandatory, specify if an external body beyond the entity who has performed the study has reviewed or approved the study. This here is if you wish to prove to your ENTSO-E that your study has been validated already, chances are that will go a long way. That information will not be published, and only ENTSO-E will be aware of that information. Just got to check. Sorry, I'm just going to take a quick break as soon as we have a. Okay, so we have. Yes, good. Okay, there's a question by Keith McGrain who's left already, so I can't unfortunately ask him for clarification. Because I'm not sure what he's referring to. He says, does the first item contradict your last comment on adding additional benefits that are not addressed in ENTSO-E CBA? So unfortunately, I can't actually address that question because I don't know which item he's referring to. Needs not give clarification. So we'll skip to the last one, which is, do we have to go through the entire calculation again if the benefits? Okay, I've already answered that one. That's fine. Okay. Oh, fair enough. Sorry, Keith. Can you just can you type what the first item? What do you mean with your question? Does the first item contradict your last comment on adding additional benefits that are not addressed in ENTSO-E CBA? Because I'm not 100% sure what you mean with that. Then we can move on after that. Let's go back to the actual beginning of the title. Oops. A few slides back. Like, can you give us a slide number? Oops. 14. This one. So does the first item contradict your last comment on adding additional benefits and measures? Submission of one or several project level benefits is optional. You're free not to submit any. Only benefits included in the presented list will be accepted. Let me just have one. Let me just have a look. I believe there is a way to actually unmute you and actually provide, like, allow you to speak. Maybe that'll actually make it easier for me as well. That way you can actually. There you go. Let's see. Okay, Heath, I've unmuted you.
Hi, I was just wondering, you had previously said that you could submit benefits that were not included in the presented list. You had said that if the CBA doesn't address all of your project benefits, you can highlight them separately by submitting extra project level benefits.
Oh, like this? Yeah, sorry. That may be the miscommunication. What I meant to say is that the CBA guideline outlines all the benefits that you are allowed to submit. What I was trying to say is that these project level benefits are there for you to highlight benefits that your project brings to the table that would not, or that might not have been, let's say, feasible to assess at a pan-European study.
Okay.
That's what I meant. It's based more to add like let's say more beef to your project. Let's put it that way. That makes sense. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Okay, so now we have project level benefits, specific submission criteria. So here, again, all information in this is taken directly from the implementation guideline on project level indicators. You can refer back to the slide where I showed you the resources, and again, I'll send this through to you if you wish via a follow-up email. So for your information, I've included the chapter in the CBA guidelines where the methodology is outlined, and then a screenshot of the specific submission requirements taken straight from the implementation guideline. The implementation guideline is actually pretty decent to read. Let's say it's a simpler version of the CBA guidelines, and I personally prefer it to the CBA guidelines as well. If you want like a good place to start, I would recommend the implementation guideline over the CBA guideline, simply because it is, let's say, a more condensed version. It's a bit more to the point, let's say. So you'll see that some project level benefits are quantified, some are quantitative, sorry, and others are qualitative. In this case, this one here is qualitative. The value submitted within the range column that actually indicates let's say the threshold values that your project has to kind of conform to then be assigned a certain like a certain qualitative indicator on the right that you can see on the right hand side. So yes, I'm not going to go to this too much, simply because it's the information is pretty straightforward. If you wish me to, we can always come back to this at the end. But for now, I think it's better just kind of just talk briefly about what the input is, what the input for each project level benefit is, and what the qualitative indicator will be once it's published in the project sheet. So as you can see, for security supply, it's monetized. It's given in mega euro, and then you can see the threshold values as well as the qualitative indicators on the right hand side. So for B9, we have avoidance of the renewable replacement costs of infrastructure. That's TNF. For both transmission and storage projects, you can see down here that the promoter has to provide all information requested in Chapter 3, considering the following exceptions. And then we list the exceptions. So for scenarios, for units of a submitted value, for the submitted value itself. So in this case here, replacement cost is monetized and can be expressed in mega euro only. The submitted value must be reported together with the year along the assessment period of the project when this benefit materializes. If I'm going through this too quickly, please let me know. We can always come back to the slide. So this here is B10. Just going back again, so B7.1, B9, and B10, they are shared by transmission and storage projects. So if you have two projects, so just let you know. Okay. And here for this one, the promoter must provide both quantitative and monetized values. I've also, so besides the CBA guideline chapter, I've also included the pages that you can find these benefit descriptions on, just for your information as well, to just make it slightly easier so you can use this presentation as like a reference afterwards if you wish. So for B8, this is the first specific storage indicator. It is a qualitative one, I believe. Yeah. And what's unique about this what's unique about this project level benefit is that you do not need to upload a study. You can simply provide the score of your project. So that matches this KPI over here that you can see. So this is mostly to do with the response time of your, let's say, the battery system or your hydro plant or whatever other storage project you have going on. Okay, so B8.2, black start services for storage projects only. This one is a bit more complicated, but the implementation guideline, I think, outlines it quite nicely. So the promoter must provide all information requested in Chapter 3 of the implementation guideline on project level indicators, considering the following exceptions. Methodology and review process for this indicator of the CBA 3.0 guideline does not provide a comprehensive, solid methodology. For this reason, ENTSO-E will abstain from performing a review of the methodology and study submitted by the promoter and from providing a positive or negative validation of the submission. So this means that for this, the B8.2 black start services, we're relying on the promoter's transparency to provide an indicator that we trust is valid. So unit of the submitted value, the value is quantified. All unit values are accepted except mega euro per year and mega euro. So please take note of that exception there. I'm also happy to clarify afterwards if if any sentencing or phrasing is confusing. Okay, so now just excuse me while I have to switch screen to Internet Explorer so I can actually show you how to submit a project level benefit. Okay. Come on. Oh. Okay, I hope that everyone can actually see my screen now. If you can't, please raise your hand. So let's come back to storage. So this here is the new, let's say, the new project platform. If no one has seen it yet, I'm just going to go quickly here. We have a test project that we're using before. So to submit a project level benefit, you have to go to this tab over here, easily called project level benefits. You can select any one of these benefits over here. And then here you can see the fields that we went through before in those 3 tables. So these are also described in the implementation guideline. So you can see exactly how to fill in these fields as you go along. Here for the scenario, you can select between TYNDP 2020 scenarios as well as an other scenario. Excuse me 1 sec. Okay, so as you can see here, you have a field to submit the value as well, and then the unit itself that value is given in is already provided to you. So please respect not respect, but if you have any, let's say, doubts about the unit that your project level benefit value must be submitted in, you can just check. You can simply check the unit on the project sheet itself. You can see where to upload the study as well. So I'm just quickly going to go back and show you how you can view the, let's say, the preview. Once you've submitted all these additional benefits, it is possible to actually preview what the final project sheet will look like, what it will look like when it's published. So let me just quickly exit. On the right-hand side over here, you can see this open project sheet preview, this white arrow over here. That will take you, if we click that, that will take you to another window where you can see a, let's say, complete in quotation marks project sheet. You can see beside the general project information on this side, what we want is the project assessment. This here is where your project level benefits will be published once they've been provided. And you can see here, for example, for the test project, we've submitted B7 system flexibility. We've submitted a study for NT 2030, and then here we have a description. This comparison of the NT 2030 average result with DE 2030 and GA 2030. This here is, if I understood layer correctly, is we compare the value that you submit for NT 2030 and then compare that against DE 2030 and GA 2030. So you can kind of see how your project level benefit would change depending on, in comparison to the other 2 scenarios that ENTSO-E has running. And then you have some other, then as you scroll down, you can see other security of supply indicators, this kind of thing. So that's a pretty decent project. At the very end, then we also include your capex and stuff. I mean, that's just, let's say, your general information. And that is it. That is what we have. So I'm going to switch back to the presentation. If you have any questions, please do so now. I'm happy to answer them. I'm sorry if I went a bit faster at the beginning. This is my first presentation for ENTSO-E, and I'm pretty nervous. So I hope I didn't skip out too many slides. I hope I wasn't too, let's say, incoherent. So if you have any slides, there's a raised hand. Hello. Can I see? Okay, so apparently there's a raised hand. Oh, there you go. Michael Zorklauer. Michael, I'm going to unmute you, and then you can answer, because I prefer this rather than you type it into the question box. So 3, 2, 1. Michael,
Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Can you hear me? Yes, okay.
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
I have 3 questions.
3, okay.
One is in the sheets which are available, there is also a scenario which is called CT. I have learned this is current. I haven't seen it today. What is about this scenario? Can we get the information, or is it to be used? Is there any information about this? The second.
So there are 3 main, let's say 3 main scenarios, right? There's national trends GA, which is global ambition, and then distributed energy. CT is current trends. So as far as I remember, it's the scenario where if the grid is developing along, let's say like now, like the current trend, like literally, if no projects are being developed and you would just kind of let the grid develop at like a natural rate without any kind of investment, what would the grid look like in 10, 20, 30 years? As far as I know. As to the actual, as the second part of your question about being information released to project promoters, I don't think so. I believe the idea is that you're submitting NT, GA, DE, or your own scenario. But I can ask Jean-Baptiste. So if Jean-Baptiste, if he gets back.
Yes. And then the time for 31st of August is for this claim of the benefits. And is there any movement? What is the timeline for corrections to the project sheet and for the submission for the study or studies we will promote? It's the same time, 31st of August, or another one?
It's the same. Yeah. So the submission of the study, this kind of thing. That's so everything we've covered today. That's submission of project level benefit, the uploading of the study. You know, like some sort of statement on optional, obviously, like what kind of entity has performed the study. That all needs to be on the project sheet or the project platform rather by 31st of August. If that's your question.
Okay. Yes. I hope we get this information also then written, because then we are sure. And the functionality of the extraction of the PDF, is it already working? I've tried it last 1 week ago or more, then it wasn't working.
Oh man, that's a very good question.
Because we use it for internal purposes. Otherwise, I have always to produce complicated documents with the actual suggestion, different of the input.
No, I know, yeah. So I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if it's if it's been updated, if that functionality has been included yet in the project platform. I know I was in a meeting last week where we were discussing with the IT contractor about implementing it. I can ask Lea and I can get back to you, let's say by tomorrow, with an answer, if that's okay.
Then it's easier to work for us if we have this.
Yeah, so you want PDF functionality basically. I'm just gonna make a note of that.
It's also a good input, but that's generally speaking. If you see features that would help you work with a platform, you can ask, and then of course, I mean, we have to budget, plan them, and so on. But it's very valuable for us to know that.
Yeah.
At the end, it's very good for presentation and for getting all the signatures. But in the beginning, it's easier for working if we have it from the beginning. It's also fine. Yeah, thank you for.
Definitely, we have this as a plan. We'll check it where it is. I don't have in mind where it is in development currently. There was a question for me earlier.
Okay. Oh, yeah, about CT. whether as far as I remember, the CT I think will not be released, right? Well, like it won't be expected from project promoters.
The CT.
I think we're focusing, the current trends. What exactly is it? If I remember Michael's question correctly.
The current trend scenario is not, no. This is a scenario on which we are only performing the economic indicator. So it's a very light CBA. And indeed, it's the last scenario that we are working on. It's not even part of our scenario report. It's here to provide the sensitivity and essentially communicate on the fact that even if the transition is slower than anticipated, it should not really question the need for the needs that we have identified. It's a bit specific, but yeah, indeed, I don't think we should do the PLIs on the current trend scenario.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's basically it. Yeah, sorry, Michael.
Yes, thank you so much. I think the most of the questions are now.
I'll get back to you on the PDF.
Please, can you unmute me? I think then it's easier to have no echo in your line also.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Dominic Meyer. Apparently I can't unmute you. Wait, can I? Okay, let's have a look. Okay, yeah. No, Dominic, you should be able to speak now.
Oh, hello. Do you hear me? Yes. Hello to everyone.
I can hear you, yes.
I have two questions. Question number one is, why do you why do you accept these figures for black start services excluding euros per year or mega euros per year? Slide 24.
24.
Not 24. So why is mega euro per year excluded? Yes.
That's a good question. So I think I arrived on the team after they made this decision. So I'm not 100% sure, but maybe Jean-Baptiste knows. If not, we'll have to get back to you with an actual answer. Jean-Baptiste, do you have an answer for why the Black Start service is not accepted in mega euro per year, but we accept any other value?
No, I have to look at the history of the discussion. We'll answer to you by email.
Yeah. Okay, Dominic, I will make a and then.
I'm asking this question because we ordered a study performed by Technical University of Vienna, and they gave us a figure in mega euros per year. So we can recalculate this mega euro per year value for you, but it would be very fine if you can give us some information about the values you would like to see from us.
Okay. So basically just the preferred, let's say the preferred unit, right?
The second question is, why do you only accept some of these indicators when, if I understood the CBA right, it is there are some indicators listed, and now only some of them are accepted by you.
So
was this from the beginning, or is this new? Is this new?
Are you referring back to these indicators here?
Like yes. So I'm especially asking regarding the non-greenhouse gas emissions.
I see.
So in our opinion, this is a very good indicator for some storage technologies, and now it will be excluded.
Yeah, again, that goes back to the decision tree that kind of led to that choice being implemented. So I only have access, let's say, to like the end result. I wasn't part of the process that led to that point. So what I can do is I can get in contact with the CBA team, the draft CBA team, because that was done in that team. I I agree with you. The GHG emission factor should also be like, I think that's a pretty important thing, especially talking about meeting the 2030 and 2040 emission targets for the EU. There might, I can't remember exactly, but there may be a way to upload additional benefits, but I forget. So let me get in contact with the draft CBA team, and I'll get back to you on both those questions. So both the black start,
yes, please.
black start as well as this one. So this is. Should I simply just ask exactly why specifically the CO2 emission indicator was excluded from the list?
Yes.
Okay. Why CO2 emission indicator was excluded? Okay. All right. So I've taken note of that. And if that answer, sorry, I couldn't answer your questions directly, but again, these I wasn't part of that decision tree, so I'll get an insight, an overview, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, if there are any other questions, so Keith, I know there's one from. Okay, so there's one from Mark. Response time ++ ignores whether the system provides real inertia and is therefore a zero response time. I'm assuming your Keith. Sorry. Where is it? Okay, so I didn't see that the question window had filled up with more questions. So let me just start from the top. So we have one from Mark Howard. He asks, you keep mentioning studies that we must cite for benefits. Do we need to pay for external studies, or can we calculate our own data justified from publicly available information? No, so the studies you perform can be your own. They don't need to be external. They can be if you want them to. I think what I was referring to more is if you want your study validated, then you should submit. You should do so through an external entity. But the studies that you use to actually calculate and determine your project level benefits you're submitting, those can be done internally as long as you're following the methodology outlined in the CBA guidelines. If that answers your question. If not, please let me know. And I can unmute you as well if you wish. Okay, so next one by Keith McGrain is you said that we could present other benefits that were not included in the list. Yes, I'm regretting that now, but because like I said, I was not part of the decision tree completely, so I will need to get in touch with the draft CBA team to ensure that it's what I said was 100% correct, 100% false. So I will make a note of your question, Keith, and I will include that as a clarification for all promoters as like a mass communication. But off the top of my head, looking at the project sheet, the project sheet submission page, where we went through the test project, I doubt whether that's possible. So if I get clarification on Dominic's question about why the CO2 emission indicators wasn't included, then I will include that in mass communication along with answering your question, if that's okay. If that's acceptable to you, then let me know either in the question window or through the chat window. Okay, so and here from Mark Howard, I think this is just a comment, which is, yes, please do ask CEF. We have cross-border benefits, but last time application was rejected because they were deemed weak. Okay. So I'll make a note of that as well. So check for C.
Yes, this is, I think, the conversation we were having at the start of the talk about CEF. And once again, I mean, I think it's a very valid point, and I will discuss it, but I encourage you to as well go directly, because I mean, we are not the EC or CEF, and obviously we can't represent promoters here.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure about this question about the response time. Mark, if I unmute you, can you explain your question to me? Because so as far as I understand, I think the only one that we're looking at is this one over here. So let me unmute you, and then I'll let you explain.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
With systems that have real inertia, their response time is always on. With systems that do not have real inertia, that provide synthetic inertia, their response time is in a few seconds. I'm thinking of batteries. But the only reason why the battery's very fast response time is sought is because there is not enough real inertia. If there is enough real inertia, you do not need the battery's very fast response time. And therefore, real inertia is actually more important than a very fast response time, which should actually have a +++ on that scale of evaluation of scoring.
So you mean so you're just referring to simply just the response time, right? So response time including delay time of IT and control systems, right?
Yeah.
The second row.
Because being able to deliver real inertia is absolutely crucial to keeping the grids online. As we saw on the 9th of August last year in the UK with widespread blackouts, because synthetic inertia wasn't enough, and the delay in bringing on board, turning on the synthetic inertia was enough to cause a whole cascade of blackouts across the country. Real inertia would have solved that problem.
Yeah. So are you saying that are you saying that this table should actually be expanded to include real inertia rather than response time, or in addition to response time?
There are two factors in response time. One is the inertial response, and that is related to response times of less than 30 seconds or real inertia. And the other one is response time in terms of turning up and turning down the output for energy delivery. Those are two very separate indicators.
And so you're saying that this table does not reflect the actual benefit of the real inertia provided by a project, basically?
Correct. So the 30 seconds and below response time is all about responding to faults. The above 30 seconds is about responding to intermittency, which is a very different challenge. It's also about responding to variability of demand.
Okay. I think this is more a question. So I'm unsure exactly what your question is. Is it that you disagree with this indicator, or are you asking how you can submit an indicator which reflects your project's real inertia contribution?
I think that there should be an indicator that reflects inertia, because that is one of the most important grid stability issues of tomorrow. And that ought to be created by splitting out that response time indicator into two.
I'm just making note of your comment. Contribution. Okay. I'm not sure how much can be done at this point, because at this point I think the project sheets are already finalized. So at least not like, obviously not like the final publication ones, but at least like the fields available to promoters as well as the fields being published, this kind of thing. So I'm not 100% sure exactly how or if we can meet your requirement, I guess. But I will try. I'll see what I'll see what the team says, and I can get back to you about this.
Thank
If
you.
not, then we'll have to.
Inertia is an issue that we've been raising for 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's only now starting to be recognized that what we've been saying for that long is actually true.
Yeah. No, it's unfortunate. It's yeah.
And it's being recognized as being so true that the UK is piloting entire multi-million-pound contracts solely to deliver inertia, and further contracts to deliver other services that are directly the consequence of not having inertia. So they're looking at costs of tens or even hundreds of millions of euros a year in future just to pay for the lack of inertia.
Yeah. No, I understand. Sorry, I understand it's an important issue. But like I said, it's has this been raised with ENTSO-E before, or is this like is this more like at the national level that you're raising the issue of inertia with?
Mainly raising it at national level, but it's been in every single one of our ENTSO-E and PCI submissions since 2014.
Okay. Okay. I will. Like I said, I can't promise anything, but what I can do is raise this issue with the team. We can see what can be done, and then if not, we can hopefully include it in next year's and the next cycle of the TYNDP. But obviously this is not my decision, and the only thing I can do is take a comment down and pass it on, unfortunately. I hope that helps. At least I hope that. At least I hope. Yeah. This is. You know. Thanks for raising the issue. All right. If it's okay with you, I'll meet you again, and then we can continue.
Yep.
Welcome. Okay. Do we have no, let's have a quick look. I just need to scroll through the questions. Okay, so we have okay, wait, maybe some raised hands. Okay, so we still have Michael Zoklauer and Dominic Meyer. If I manage to answer your questions, please just like lower your hand if you can. Thank you. Because if that's it, then I would say let's say another 2 minutes, 3 minutes. 10 past 3. If there's no more questions, I will then cut this webinar. If you have any questions, I know I went pretty quickly in the beginning. If you have any questions, anything that needs clarification, please send me an email. I'm more than happy to follow up on any questions you have and to see whether there's anything we can do on our side to meet your comments or answer your questions. That's what I'm here for. If there's anything else that you wish to go through, technically speaking, we still have another hour left of this webinar. So if you wish, we can go through the project sheet again at a slower pace, or any one of the slides are presented. If not, then we call it a day, and we'll be in touch by email. But I'll leave that up to you. This is your time after all. We're here to help you. And if there's nothing that you need help with, then I guess that would be it. I'm just going through the questions one last time. Okay. So if there's nothing else, then I would suggest that we call it. I'm going to stop the recording here, and I wish everyone a good day. Please stay safe. Thank you for attending. And yeah, from all of us here at ENTSO-E, we hope that you stay safe during these times. We know it's a weird time. If you have any questions, please refer to the slide back here. You have my email. Most of you shared my email by now as well. And if you have any follow-up questions, please send me an email. I'll send through an email with the links to the webinar, along with these slides, and the links to where you can find the resources that I went through at the beginning. So these ones here. I would still say, from my side at least, we have one question. Oh, hello. Sorry, Stefan. That was, come on. Sorry, the question was, the hand that was raised before, can you just raise your hand again? Because I clicked it and it went away. And now I don't know who who asked the question. Sorry. I saw Stefan something. Here we go. Jonan, sorry. Okay, I'm going to unmute you, and then 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Yes, this is Sergeant from EMS. Could you please share the link to the last CPA 3.0 document?
Yeah, it's on the slide I have open right now. So it's on slide 7.
And these slides, will they be shared to us, to the attendees of this webinar?
Yeah. So after this, give me like an hour, and I'll have sent you this. I'll have sent you the link to the webinar recording. Actually, more like 2 hours. The webinar recording, these slides, and yeah, and I can, if you wish, I can include the links to these documents. But as you can see, like, you have them available on the slide itself.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay. So at which point, it is now 3:12. If there's no more questions, then I will end the recording now. I've taken note of the questions that I have received from, just as a quick last summary, from Michael Zorklauer, from Dominic Meyer, and from Mark Howard, is regarding the PDF functionality, the Black Start Mega Euro, YCO2 emission indicators was excluded, the comment about the response time, as well as the check for the CEF. So if there's no more, if there's no other ones, or alternatively, if people have other questions, please send them through to me via email, and I will be happy to answer them and get back to you as soon as I can. If there's nothing else, then I suggest that we quit. Jean-Baptiste, do you agree?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, have a good day, and thanks so much for attending and your attention.